Well, hey everybody, can you see me okay? Awesome. So I'm not usually in a car teaching webinars. That is not what Mega Lead Conversion is usually like. But I am actually in Ireland, which is why it's dark outside. And I am on vacation and I found a spot to teach webinars where it's quiet, which is the car. It's very loud here. So that's why I'm in a car coming to you tonight from Ireland. Rodrigo, can you give me the ability to share screen so I can share slides? Awesome. So let me introduce myself in case we've never met each other. And if you would introduce yourself in the chat box, tell me where you are located, what your role is, and then what you would like to learn on today's webinar. Obviously, today is all about how the class Mega Lead Conversion works. So I imagine you're here because you have some questions about what the program is and how it works. So feel free to fill in the chat box again with where you're from, what your role is, and what you would most like to learn today. And my goal in this webinar is to just do a quick overview of how the program works in case you've been wondering who, is it right for me? I'm also going to talk about who is it not for. So we'll talk about who it is for, who it is not for, how it works, all that good stuff. In case we have never met before, just so you know who I am and why I teach this class, I have been in sales since 2006. I used to be really bad at sales, really bad. Anybody here feel like they've been really bad at sales before? Anyone? And what I want to encourage you with is through the content of Mega Lead Conversion, I went from being one of the lowest performers on my team to one of the most consistent top performers on my team. And these language patterns truly have changed my life. I don't share that with you in any way to brag. I hope it encourages you because I am someone who used to be very bad at sales and now I feel like I excel at sales. What makes me passionate about this program is I'll actually share with you a story from class last week. Is there was a single mother on one of my calls last week. And she told me that her goal by being in Mega Lead Conversion is to get better skill so that she doesn't have to work as many hours to find her clients, so she has more time with her kids. Can anyone relate to that? And obviously, that might look different for you depending on what your goals are. But the thing is, as we increase our skill, we can either work the same hours and just make more money because we're better and we're working the same hours. So we're going to be more successful. Or there have been people before who've said, I would love to work less hours and make the same amount of money. And I can do that as my skill increases. So that's really where my passion comes from this program, is just that connection between the skill and really how easy or hard your life is as a real estate agent. So if I can help reduce the hardness of being in real estate and make it easier for you, that truly is one of my passions in life. So that's why I love this program, is it does help you increase skill, which helps you then have more time or money or both, depending on what your personal preferences are. So let's go ahead and get into it for what it works. Again, a whole bunch of people joined after we started. I am not usually in a car. So normally Mega Lead Conversion is with a professional background. I'm usually in my office at home, but I'm traveling abroad today. I'm in Ireland and the car was the best quiet spot to find to teach this webinar today. So that's why I'm in my car today. All right, so who is the class for? So it's for all sales roles. I even had a photographer who has nothing to do with real estate, but a photographer who does her own sales take this program. And I will tell you, she actually disappeared about halfway through the class. And I asked her, are you okay? I haven't seen you in class for a while. She's a friend of mine. And she said, oh, yeah, I've actually picked up so much business since implementing the techniques from the first half of the class that I'm now busy with clients and I'm watching the recording of the program. And that's why she wasn't live. So when I say all sales roles, I do mean all sales roles. So that can look like a buyer agent, in our context of real estate, a buyer agent, listing agent, inside sales agent. I've also had team leaders take this program, productivity coaches take this program because of recruiting. And recruiting is a lot like sales. So essentially, if you talk to humans and the goal is to have them work with you in some capacity, that is who this program is for. I've had students in the program who are brand new. In fact, I recently had a student who is not yet licensed, so she wasn't using the techniques yet, but she said, I want to take the class so that when I become licensed, I already know what I'm doing. I know what to say once I have that license. And she ended up getting her license and she told me she's doing pretty well. I ran into her at a conference a couple weeks ago. And then we've also had students. I had a student last week who's told me she's been in real estate for 21 years, and this is one of the best classes she's ever taken. Her specific testimonial, her name is Stephanie, her specific testimonial was that she's heard a lot of what we should say, but it wasn't really connecting to her actual calls. It was almost like theory. And she said this program helped take it from theory and head knowledge to I actually know what to say as I'm dialing. When they pick up, I feel confident in what I should say. And I know what to do if they give me an objection or if they don't want to answer my questions about motivation, things like that. So essentially, if you talk to people and your goal is to have them work with you, or at least determine if they're the right fit to work with you, this class will definitely help you do that. One thing I love is it teaches the science of what to say. So let me take the slides down so I can see you a little better. This class teaches a lot of language patterns. I'm curious, anybody out there know the difference between a language pattern and a script? Feel free to just unmute yourselves, use the chat box. A whole bunch of
Hi,
you just looked down like, oh no, don't call on me. Don't be scared.
I was
All
just
right, somebody,
wondering. Hi, this is
yeah.
Nara. I was just wondering, is this class the same as language of sales?
No, it's different. And so that actually gets into what I had just asked the class of what is a language pattern versus a script. So there's a lot of psychology in both classes of how to talk to people. This class teaches language patterns, which is the science. And let me give you an example of what I mean. In fact, I'll just give you a language pattern right now. I highly recommend grab something to write with because I'll give you one you can use even today. A language pattern is not a paragraph of words to memorize. That would be more like a script. A language pattern is more, here are the 3 steps or the 4 steps. And as long as you follow those steps, then you are doing it right. So, Andrea, you might say it one way. Jonathan, you might say it a different way, and you're both right as long as you're following the 4 steps. So, let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Have you ever had someone pick up the phone and they're like, "Oh, I'm busy. Can you just call me later?" And it's like, "Well, you did just pick up the phone." So it's probably more of a, "Oh, I didn't know it was you." Right? And so what they're telling you versus hanging up on you, what they're telling you is, "I'm busy. Can you call me later?" So write these steps down. There's a 3-step process for that. Number 1, welcome it. And that sounds like, "Thank you for telling me." Number 2, ask a question. When is better? So if they say I'm busy, call me later, your knee jerk reaction is going to be, I'm so glad you told me. Thank you. When is better? Every time. Okay. And then the third step is to ask about motivation. And I like to word that by saying, in 30 seconds or less, what has you thinking about moving? And that acknowledges in the question, I heard you, Julie. I know you're in a hurry. In 30 seconds or less, what has you thinking about moving? And here's the thing. Have you ever been leaving a party or something or work or church and someone says, "Hey, real quick, how are the kids?" And even though you were on a mission to get out the door, because they asked you about yourself, now you stop and talk a while, right? That happens a lot. Sometimes we really got to go. But other times we'll stop and engage because someone's asking about ourselves, about us, right? And that's the idea of that language pattern. So again, the 3 steps: welcome it, welcome it. Thank you for telling me. Ask a question. When is better? And then ask about motivation. In 30 seconds or less, what has you thinking about moving? So that is a 3-step language pattern. That is different than a script. Because, Brenda might say that by, "Oh, I'm so glad you told me. My gosh, thank you for letting me know. Hey, when is a better time to call you? Okay, hey, just real quick, what has you thinking about moving?" And do you see how they're both worded differently, but they're actually saying the same thing, right? That is a language pattern. So this class is very heavy on language patterns, and I'll teach you more about what those are. I have a slide with all of the language patterns on them. And then the other thing you asked, is this a lot like language of sales? One thing that's very different here is we give you not just the language, but we also give you the systems. So there are systems around what does follow up look like? And that's the next point on the slide here. So for example, when a new lead comes in, when do I call them? How often do I call them? Am I leaving a voicemail or not? And then what am I saying if they pick up the phone? What does that look like? We also go over things like, what if you've had a lead for a very long time and they're just a cold lead, no idea who they are, or it's been so long to call them, it's almost embarrassing to call them because it's been that long. What do you say to that lead? What is the system? And along with those systems, we give you tracking systems. So, for example, what we want you to be able to do is know how many contacts does it take for me to earn a closing. Your business is a lot more peaceful when you know exactly what you need to do in order to get a closing, right? So if I know it takes me 47 contacts to set enough appointments to earn a closing, then I can know mathematically how many closings do I want? How many contacts do I need? We teach that in this program. So I want you to kind of think of it this way. And Cardwell, I see your hand. I'm going to do questions at the end just so we can get through, and then I will come back to you. So I do see you. I will definitely come back to you. Um, really, the goal of this program is to help you know everything you need to know to have a lead generation and lead conversion section of your business that runs smoothly. You understand the how and the why of everything you need to know to be successful at lead gen, lead conversion. During COVID, we've had this program, by the way, since 2015, but during COVID, we sat down and we revamped it. And we just said, what are all the things that we wish we knew when we got into real estate sales? Everything. Tracking, systems, language patterns, everything. And we made a list, and then we gave that list to other people in the industry that we considered high performers. And we said, what are we missing? What's not on the list that we forgot? And when we put everything together, it turned out to work out to an 18 session program. So this is a program that is 18 sessions long. What we do is we teach 3 weeks a month. So it's 6 months. And we do that so you can have 3 weeks of class, have a week off, 3 weeks of class, have a week off. And that way, let's say, Candace, you decide to go on vacation, say to Ireland, where I am right now. It's not a big deal if you miss a class or miss a week, because we have a week off built in. So you can very easily catch up on a recording. And the other thing is, too, we found that students had better memory retention when we gave a week off, because each week we're layering on more and more content, something new every session. And to have that ability to have a moment to make sure you have everything down before we start the next month is really good. So we do 3 weeks a month, 6 months long. And then at the end of that, you will have everything you need to know in order to be a successful lead generator, lead converter. They are live interactive sessions. So I'm the instructor. I love teaching it. It is my favorite hour of the week. And again, normally I'm in a different setting. I'm traveling at the moment. So I hopped in a car here in Ireland, but normally I'm, somewhere in my office, and we are doing live interactive sessions. We learn the language patterns, and the idea is everything from hello to signed agreement. So let me put up the next slide, because I actually have a list of the different language patterns in case you are wondering about those. So 1 second here. But the idea is we want you to know what to say when they pick up the phone and they say hello. Let me just ask this group here and use the chat box, because there are so many of you here, which is great. I can't see all of you. But tell me in the chat box, yes or no. How many of you have had an hour training on what to do in the first 30 seconds of a call? I'm just curious. First 30 seconds, a deep dive. It looks like a mostly no's. There's a couple yeses, which is awesome. And by first 30 seconds, again, it's how do you open the call so they don't hang up on you? And they actually engage. And then what do you do if they say, just email me or just call me later? How do you handle that? Yeah, good. It looks like most of you are saying no. So let me ask you another question. How many of you have had a training on how to leave voicemails that actually get callbacks? A lot of people say voicemails don't work, which I used to say the same thing. And actually, there are very effective voicemails that work. They just have a format to them. And a lot of people have not had that training. Okay, good. Yes-ish. Tiffany, I'm so curious. Yes-ish. That's funny. Yeah, and Renee, I recognize you there. Good to see you. Renee's heard it a bit before. So yeah, there's something for that. So let me put up on the screen. Those are two of the language patterns, how to open the call so they stay on the phone. Here's voicemails that work. I won't read all of these because that's kind of boring to just read off the slide. You can see the slide, but here's different topics that we cover. So how do you pre-qualify someone? What are all the questions that we should be asking a buyer or a seller? And by the way, that sets you up for success in the appointment. If we're not pre-qualifying people, we're walking into appointments kind of blind. So we're going to teach you how do you qualify people. And by the way, the method of how we qualify people actually is a way for us to screen if this is someone I want to work with, right? So let's say I'm talking to Andrea and Andrea just doesn't have time to stay on the phone with me to get qualified. That's actually a sign to me that Andrea might not be that serious, right? So there's actually a system of how we qualify that is a way of screening how serious is this person and are they likely to keep or cancel their appointment. We also teach on how to set appointments that actually show up and sign. So we teach how do you set the expectation for the appointment that they will be signing something. By the way, when I used that technique, I had 90 to 95% of clients that met with us sign and hire us. They sign on the dotted line to hire us. And when I started teaching this, I would ask different clients that I knew was using the pattern, can you please tell me what is your signature ratio using this method? Because I wasn't sure if it would be the same, right? And they also reported to 90% of sellers hired them, 95% of buyers hired them. We also teach how to set an appointment that actually shows up. How many of you have set appointments and then they just disappear? And it's a little bewildering because some of them seemed very serious and then they just disappeared into the wind. What we find is people who use our strategies have a 70 to 80% show ratio, which is right where you want to be. And I had a client not long ago say they were at 40%. 2 weeks later, they were at 80%. So stop for just a moment. I want all of you, if you've zoned out, zone back in here for just a second. Imagine that you don't have to set any more appointments than you currently are. You just got twice the amount of them to show than you're currently having. Would that change your business? Right? I find a lot of people are like, I just need to set more. I just need to set more. I just need to talk to more people. I just need to set more. And that might be true depending on your numbers. But what I find most often when I start working with people is they're actually setting a good amount of appointments, but because so many are not showing up, they're having to work so hard to get enough people in the door, right? So what if we just doubled the amount of people that showed up? Would that not help, right? Would that not make a big difference? So that's what we talk about in the program as well. So let me show you real quick. We get a lot of questions around, will it be recorded? How does that work? What's the client portal like? So let me just show that to you real quick. So this is a class I'm currently running, same exact class. It actually just ended. And in this class, what you'll see is once you're registered, you'll get all of the information about how to join the class. So you'll automatically be invited to this portal and you'll see the information up here. And then each week when I teach, 24 hours later, the recording will be right here. So let's say that Rodrigo is in the class, but he has a client meeting or a doctor's appointment or he's on vacation. How do I watch the class? Am I just going to miss it? No, you can actually come in here and find the week that you missed, no problem. And then also you'll see all of the workbooks here under each session. So here's just an example of what it looks like for a program that just ended. And yeah, it's pretty simple. You hop in the client portal, you get all of your materials. That's where the Zoom link information is, and you should have everything you need through there. All right, so let's talk about the investment. This program, just so you know, it used to be $800 a month for one person. When COVID hit, we wanted to make it more accessible. Were any of you in the business when COVID hit? That was nuts. Congratulations, you made it. That was amazing. And what we wanted to do is make the class more accessible, right? Because people were freaking out. So we dropped it from $800 a month down to $199 a month. Okay. So the program is now $199 a month. And if you are a team, you can have 2 people per registration. So if you have 8 team members, that is only 4 contracts. The way it used to be, it was $800 a person, 1 person per contract. Okay. So $199 a month. And what that shakes out to be is right under $1,200 for the whole 6 months, but you're only paying $199 per month. I want you to just think about something for just a moment. If you doubled your set to held, so twice as many appointments actually showed up. If you had people calling you back because you know how to leave a voicemail, or you had 90 to 95% of people hiring you. Now it is up to you to actually use the methods, right? You have to actually practice and implement the methods. But when you do those are the results that we're seeing. Just ask yourself, how many additional closings do you think you would have if those things were to happen, right? And I had a student recently who, because of her increase, she's expecting to have 41 extra closings this year, and she's only about halfway through the program. And she's already seeing enough increase to have 41 extra closings this year based off what her conversions. So for most people, if they have one closing, the class pays for itself 4 times over at the average conversion rate. So what I'm getting at is if you actually show up and apply yourself, you will 100% see that money back. Now, if you're someone who says, I don't know that I'll show up, and by the way, showing up can look like watching the recordings. If you can't join us live, recordings are fine. But if you're someone who says, I know myself, I'm not going to show up, I'm not going to watch the recordings, it's not, then I would say that this class would not be for you. But if you are someone who says, I know I'll show up, I know I will participate, I know I will practice between the calls, even if you just do that half the calls, you should see a significant increase in your business. Okay. So $199 a month, 6 months. And Elizabeth, yes, the second person can also be on Zoom. So when 2 people register, again, you do need to be on the same team, but that allows you both to have your own Zoom login, your own client portal. You're not trying to get into the same Zoom link. It wouldn't work, right? The next session starts Wednesday. So what is that? I'm a little bit in a time warp because I'm in Ireland. Today is Thursday. So it starts in 6 days, February the 7th, and it will be at 2 o'clock Eastern time. 2 o'clock Eastern time. So it's an hour long, 2 to 3 Eastern, starting February 7th, only 6 days away. Okay. All right. I saw a question. Cardwell, you had a question. So let me say one more thing and then I'll come to you. So get your question back up. But here's what I'll say to you guys. This class has changed my life personally. Okay. When I got into real estate, I'm just gonna be very vulnerable with you. I did not have money. I had recently gone to my church to get help with a medical bill. And I was kind of drowning, feeling that sick feeling of, am I going to be able to pay the bills? That's how I was when I got into real estate. And after learning what I've learned in this class, um, I mean, I'm in Ireland right now, right? Just on vacation. That's where I am at the moment. Um, I'm not worried about finances. I know what I need to do to get the business that I need. And I feel very confident and comfortable talking to leads. I used to feel very uncomfortable with sales, very like unnatural about it. And now I feel like a confident advisor. Like, I can help you. Let me help you. And that's what I want for you guys as well. All right, Cardwell, you had a question. And the questions right now, let's keep them around how the program works, not necessarily about techniques to convert leads. That's not the purpose, but more about how the program works. Okay, Cardwell, go ahead.
Actually, Anna, you did touch on my question, which had more
Oh,
to do with the message that we leave. I think the hardest part is getting the call back,
yeah.
because when you call, they're looking and saying, Anna Kruger, what in the hell does she want?
Who's that? Yeah, who's this person?
And well, we're gonna let it go to voicemail first, and then I'll decide
Yeah.
if and when I'll call her back. So my question, of course, is the what had to do with the fact, what's the script that's going to get them to call you back? But I see
Yeah.
you say you're going to cover that.
Yeah, we'll cover that in
Okay.
the class. We spent a whole hour on how to leave voicemails. And then what is your cadence for how often and what are you saying? Yeah. But I
Okay.
will say this as a testimonial to that. We had an expired listing lead in our area in our highest priced neighborhood. I know I am not the only agent who called that lady. There's no way. Everybody would, if you're calling expired, you would have called that one. And I left the voicemail strategy that we teach in the program. About 3 months later, she called me back. I didn't even remember her. She was a long time ago, never talked to her. And she said, Anna, she literally said, come get the listing. Talk about a come get the listing call, right? And she said, you are the only agent who consistently called me. So now that I'm ready to relist, you have it. I want an agent who works hard, and you're the only one who was consistent. I guarantee you, I am not the only agent who was consistent calling her. I think I'm the only agent who had a voicemail strategy. So I'm the one she remembered. I think that's probably the only thing that made the difference. So that is the benefit of that voicemail strategy, and we do teach that in this program. Tiffany, the follow-up process is something we teach in the program. I'm not trying to not answer your question. It's just not something I can teach in the 4 minutes that we have remaining, but we do teach that very early in the program.
No, you're okay. I worded that kind of weirdly. I didn't mean like
Yeah.
go into like the details of it, but just kind of like, just a generalization of what does that look like? Is it, I don't know if I'm saying that right or for that to make sense, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, the follow-up process, there's a lot of variables, which is why it's hard to teach it in a short session, but the idea is call them a lot in the short period of time versus a whole bunch of times over a long period of time. Short and frequent creates urgency. So that's like the gist, but we'll talk more about that in the program.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And that was super helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes. Is coaching available after the program? So yes, we have students that then go into one-on-one coaching. And that's an option. What I tell most people is if you are looking to increase your conversion and technique and just have more confidence about how to talk to leads, again, whether you're brand new or you've done this 20 years, I've had both students in the class and both have reported both types, new and very seasoned, both have reported seeing increase in business, and it applies to them. If after that you determine, man, I want some one-on-one accountability, or, I want to go deeper with this, you can always then look into hiring a one-on-one coach, and having additional, but I would say get through the program first and then reevaluate where you are. Some students take it a second time. I've had there's somebody taking it starting in February. It'll be his 4th time. And then others say, okay, now I'm ready for one-on-one or maybe a different class. That would be an option as well. Maggie, I'm not sure if I know what you mean by, is this a weekly tag up? I might just not be hip enough to know what that means. But what do you mean when you say, is there a weekly tag up over the 6 months? Just let me know what you mean there. And do you have strategies for second home markets where the buyer's timeline is much lengthier? Yes. We talk about what do you do if someone has a long timeline. I will also say this. Some people have a genuine long timeline, right? There's a reason that they're 2 years out. What I will also say is part of being really good at lead conversion is sniffing out who really does need to wait 2 years and who is just overwhelmed, so they're procrastinating. How do you know, right? Can we all just acknowledge that moving is stressful? I mean, I don't really know anybody who loves to move, right? I might love the new house, but I don't love the action of moving. And when we don't love something, we procrastinate. How many of you have laundry right now that's been clean and you have not folded it because you just don't want to and you're procrastinating, right? That's a lot of us, right? We procrastinate on things that overwhelm us and they just don't seem fun. So sometimes we call a lead and they sound like a lead that's a year out, 2 years out. And in reality, when you have the proper techniques, and it's not to like trick them or anything, you're just asking them good questions that help them realize there's no benefit in waiting. I should do this now. What you'll find is these leads that feel like far away leads often will bump up their timeline when you know how to communicate with them effectively. Okay. And of course, you'll have some that are lengthier, and we do teach techniques for that as well. All right. It's a weekly class, 1 day a week. Yes, Maggie, I see your question. So it meets every Wednesday. Well, I shouldn't say every Wednesday. It meets 3 Wednesdays a month from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern time. And let me show you real quick. Go to megaleadconversion.com. That is the website, megaleadconversion.com. And Maggie, and just everyone asking about schedule, when you click on sign up, you'll see before you actually sign up, you'll see all of the sessions. What are the dates? You'll see the time. You'll see all those technical details. So you can go ahead and load them into your calendar. Okay. megaleadconversion.com. megaleadconversion.com. Okay. Let me keep my eye on the chat box here. Any other questions? Do you show who to task and to command? I don't. Yes, we talk about how do you manage your CRM, but you don't have to use command. I teach it more general, like whatever CRM you're using, here's how to do it. But again, that could be command. Some of you use different CRMs and that's fine. So the website is megaleadconversion.com. Megaleadconversion.com. Jonathan's asking, when do we need to register by? So you could register February 7th. That is the day that it starts. I will also tell you, can you imagine how it might create a bit of chaos if everyone registers February 7th? So what I would ask is, if you already know you're going to do it, go ahead and register even tonight, because that allows the team on the back end who's setting up your client portal, getting the materials loaded, to get that taken care of you without last minute rush. But if you need to sign up later, that's okay if there's a reason for that. But I would just say, if you're able to, sooner is better, just to help out with admin stuff. Just keeps them a little easier. Okay. I have a question in direct message. I will read it out loud. I won't say who sent it. But basically, if you live in another country, like, is this country specific? And no, I've actually taught this content in South Africa. I've taught this content in Portugal. I've taught this content in Turkey, all within the realm of real estate. And people have reported that it has been helpful for them. So it's not, we don't get into law. We don't get into things like that. We are simply talking, how do you communicate with people in a way that works for them? We're not getting into state law or specific country rules and things like that. Okay. The only thing I would say is, if you are unlicensed, sometimes we have inside sales agents who are unlicensed. It is up to you to check in your state, what can you and can't you say. And you might need to like adjust some of the training to fit the law if you are unlicensed, but you can even still use most of it, if not all of it. Can you complete the entire course on playback? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. We do record. I have students that I've never met because they watch the recording and then they'll email me a question, and that's fine. I love to see you because I like the interaction and I like the interplay. I'm here if you have a question. We always have time for questions at the end of the webinars, but it is no problem at all. I just had a client last week say she schedules to watch every Friday morning. She watches. That's like her time, Friday morning. And then she emails me if she has a question, and that's fine. Yeah. Yes, I see the question. You're in bold, which is awesome. Congratulations. Yes, we have a lot of students who are in bold as well as this class. And honestly, that will only overlap about 3 to 4 sessions. And the content is different. As this is they're both good. They're just not the same content, is what I'm trying to say. The recordings, I have a private question. How long will the recordings be available? 60 days after the last class. So it's a 6-month program. You will have 8 months to watch all the recordings. Okay. So 6 months, but 8 months of access. And we remind you of that. So at the end of the program, we remind you that there's 2 months left to watch recordings. One of the best ways to use the recordings, honestly, I have a student who told me, I guess it was a week or 2 ago, she will watch live like you guys are right now, but then she will listen while she makes dinner. She'll listen in the car like a podcast to really get the content in her brain. And by the way, she's the one that has the 41 additional closings already for the year. Well, they haven't closed yet, but from her conversion, she's expecting 41 extra closings and she's halfway through the program. But she's showing up by being live, listening to the recordings. I mean, she's really getting it in her brain. Did I miss any questions? I think I've gotten everything, but I also know I may have missed something. If you have a question, just put it back in the chat box, or you could unmute yourself. I'm getting encouragement in private messages to go enjoy Ireland. I will. Trust me, I will. I come home tomorrow. I'm very sad. But I also like America. But it's fun in Ireland too. Okay. Is AI effective for lead gen? It depends on what the AI is. But at the end of the day, most people do want to talk to a person. So I wouldn't say AI is my specialty. I could talk about it, but I would just be, that's not my specific specialty. But I do know people who use AI, and it's usually just good to like get to them quickly, but not long-term process. That's my opinion. Turn off my video because that helps with bandwidth. And again, guys, If you weren't here at the beginning, I'm not saying I'm in Ireland 12 times to brag. I'm teaching a class about how the program works, and I want you to know I'm not usually in my car working off a hotspot, but I'm traveling on vacation at the moment in out of the country.
Anna, they're asking if their assistants can attend the class.
Yeah, that's why we let 2 people per registration. So if you wanted to have your assistant on there as well, absolutely. That's fine. Rodrigo, you might know the answer to this. How do people sign up if they have a second person on their team? Can they say that on the contract, or how do they tell you the second person?
Yeah, when they're filling up the registration, there's a spot at the very bottom that says like ISA name, something like that. You can just fill it out in there. And if you have any problems, just email us at fasttrack@kw.com and we'll make sure that we take care of you.
Perfect. Yeah. So fasttrack@kw.com is like the operations side of the program, and then I teach. You don't want me doing ops, trust me. I teach. All right, any other questions here? I'm curious who already knows that you're going to sign up, and I'll see you on Wednesday. I would love to. Awesome, Andrea, yay. Thank you. Yay, Tanya just signed up. Awesome, guys. I want to say this genuinely from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I don't know if you can tell from this webinar here, but I genuinely love what I do. Let me try turning my camera back on. I love what I do. And the simple fact is I can't do what I love unless I have students, right? Like unless people believe in the program and are involved, I don't get to do what I love. I love teaching this class. So I just want to say that I don't take it lightly that you're signing up. I take that as a big responsibility. You are letting me partner with you in business. You're letting me enter into a challenging part of the business, lead generation and lead conversion. And I take that very seriously, and I treat that with care. So I just want to say thank you, 1, for trusting in me to help lead you, and 2, for helping me do what I love, because I only get to teach if there's students. If there's no students, I'm not doing what I love. So thank you so much. Awesome. Is it Lady? Is that how you say your name?
Yeah.
Laddie? Yes. Awesome. Good. Thank you for that. Do I have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, you mentioned if 2 people were on the same team, they can sign up and they'll get 2 different links. Zoom.
Yeah. So when you sign up, it sounds like on the contract, there's a spot to put the second name and the second email for that second person, and they'll get their own client portal. They'll get their own Zoom link. They'll have their own separate stuff. And when you sign up, by the way, Rodrigo, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you sign up, it's like an automatic email that comes to you inviting you to the portal. So if you don't see it, it comes once you register. Check your spam folder. It might be in spam, but that'll tell you how to get into the client portal. And then usually, again, Rodrigo, correct me if I'm wrong, the portal will really load up right before the program starts. So don't be alarmed if you log in and you don't see all the materials just yet. They'll get that there by the start of class. Is that right, Rodrigo? Awesome.
Yeah, you should get like access to the portal, but the sessions are going to be released as the, program goes.
Yeah, we put them up week by week. So week 1 will appear, and then once we're done week 1, week 2 will appear, and so forth. Marian, I see your question. I just put an email in the chat box, and you can let them know you have a second person. Oh, wait, go ahead. I muted you because I didn't realize you had another question. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, is it the same price for 2 people signing up?
Yeah, so you can, for $199 a month, have 2 people, 1 registration, 2 people. Yeah. But for example, say I've had teams where there's 8 people. There's a team in Georgia that has 8 people. They're all in the program, but instead of signing up 8 people, they signed up 4 people, 2 per contract. Okay. And again, this program used to be $800 a month for 1 person. So we tried to make it a lot more accessible. Yay, a lot of you guys are signing up. I'm excited. Awesome. Anybody else with a question? How Mega Lead conversion works? I think I've covered everything. Good. Okay. megaleadconversion.com. Wednesdays, 2 to 3 o'clock Eastern time. It is recorded. 3 weeks a month, $1.99 for 1 or 2 people. Have to be on the same team. And I think that's everything. I can't. Rodrigo, did I miss anything? I think we covered it. Awesome. Okay. All right. I'm so tempted to call y'all lads and lassies. I'll see y'all later. People have been saying cheerio, and now I just want to say cheerio to everyone. So I'm going to go eat some dinner at this Irish restaurant around the corner, and I say cheerio to all of you, and hopefully I will see you on Wednesday. Have a great day, everyone.